Welcome to Go Ahead Tell Me. My name is Rosie Gigure, and today we're closing the celebration of Black History Month 2023, chatting about success and well-being with director, writer, and producer Kameishia Wooten. Enjoy. Hello, Kameishia. Thank you so much for being here and Go Ahead Tell Me and for sharing your story with our audience. How are you?
Oh, great. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
We do here in the podcast is to talk about success, how we have come to achieving success, but also how we take care of our well-being. So tell me a little bit about your story at the beginning.
Okay, I am from Goldsboro, North Carolina. That is where I was born and raised. I have two sisters and a half brother. I am a first generation college graduate, and that is where I discovered my love for filmmaking. I always been interested in the entertainment and arts. I was in theater camp as a kid. I was in choirs and glee club, and I always performed. But when I went to college and discovered that I can make films and create them, I immediately fell in love after taking some production classes. And I made my first short film when I was in undergrad. I went to UNC Chapel Hill. Mm-hmm. And I initially started out as a pre-law major, but I was bored to death with the classes and was drawn to the media classes. And so that is where it first happened. And I made my first short film, and it was well received on campus. And I started, I was like the videographer for the Black Cultural Center. And so I filmed all their events and speakers. And I remember talking to the director of the Culture Center, and he was like, well, if you want to be a filmmaker, you need to go to NYU or go to film school. And that's when I learned you can go to film school. And so I ended up applying to graduate school, and I decided on Columbia College Chicago, and that is where I got my MFA. And it's kind of where my career began. And then I moved out to LA once I finished graduate school and started pursuing the path of being a filmmaker.
This is so interesting, and it's so interesting because as I always said, we really don't know exactly. I think most people don't know what they want to do in the first years of college. Like me, I chose economics, and then I changed, right? So it is similar, but I know, and this is what I want, young people to know. Sometimes it happens, and it's important when you discover what you want to do. How can you tell me, going back to this story, thank you for sharing that, Kameishia. How can you tell me, because you were doing performing arts when you were younger, like you said. So how did you, again, you took some classes, you were bored when you were studying law, but besides knowing that your teacher told you, your professor told you that you should go to film school, there was any click inside of you that told you, oh yes, this is what I'm passionate about?
I'm a very spiritual person. And I just remember when I felt like, oh my God, like this is what I want to do. And it was just like a really strong pull towards that direction. I remember going on a spiritual fast for clarity about whether or not this is what I was supposed to be doing. And I felt like I got my answer. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pursue this full force. And the reason why I did that, I went that deep spiritually, is because I had been told so many negative things about the film industry, because we used to have people come and tell us, and one thing they would say, if there's anything else that you want to do it, because it's hard. And it's really tough. And I was like, do I want to go this path and struggle to pursue my passion? Because that's what was told to me. It was going to be a very hard path, and it's not for everyone. And so I didn't want to go into it without having that spiritual connection first to God, and like really you know, get a very strong sense that
Oh,
this was what I was supposed to be doing.
yes, thank you so much for that, Kamishi. Now I know, because you know that I'm gonna make questions about how you keep your maintain your well-being. And oh my God, it gives me chills to know that you have that connection with Papa Dios, as I call him. Is
I
God,
love
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So thank you for that. So let's go then. When you came to LA, you went to Columbia and study your master on film, and then you came to LA. What happened when you came? That decision that you say, okay, I'm gonna go to Hollywood.
Mhm.
And what happened?
Well, I will tell you, before I went to film school, I actually interned at Lifetime Television. And
Oh,
so I was a development intern because my school had an internship program. And as soon as I graduated, I drove across country to Los Angeles just to get my feet wet. I
oh,
always thought I would end up in New York.
oh,
But coming to LA for that internship made me realize, okay, LA is where I need to be to
oh.
start my career in the film industry. And so I kind of got a taste of it before film school. And I'm glad I did, because I went to film school in Chicago. And so when I went to film school, yeah, film school was my opportunity to show myself that I had the talent to be able to make films, because I wasn't confident in myself. I knew I had the passion for it, and I knew that I had a talent, but that talent wasn't developed, and I knew it wasn't developed. So, and then I didn't know how far it would be developed, because
Mm,
you have to. It's a tough competitive field. You have to be great to make it, or you have to be prepared and lucky to make it. I don't necessarily believe you have to be great, to be honest with you. But
mm.
I film school was my opportunity to build my confidence. And
Oh,
so I made a couple of short films in film school. I had some festival success, and I've gotten some award recognition. And so when I finished my thesis, which did really well on the film festival circuit, I felt like, okay, I have a portfolio. Um, and now I need to go to LA and try to make it. And so I had some connections. The transition out here was pretty. Actually, the transition was easy. It got hard later.
no.
Yeah, when I moved out here, things happened. I got an internship. And I had a part-time job while I had that internship. I was working for a small production company, State Street Pictures, who I was connected with them in here because I PA'd on one of their feature films. And then I got my first job at Disney. And then the writer's strike happened and the recession happened, and then things became hard for me
Mhm,
um in 2008, and I kind of had a setback for a couple of years.
mm,
um and so during that time I just focused on my writing because I wasn't working in the entertainment industry at the time. I actually had to get a corporate job.
mhm.
And so I worked a corporate job, actually in legal, ironically.
Oh,
And
oh.
so I did that, and I wrote my scripts on the side, and I took my writing classes to kind of like develop my skills as a writer. And I did that for 3 years.
Oh,
And then and it was a tough time. It was
huh,
a tough time for me creatively and also professionally, because I didn't know how I was going to get out of that situation. And then I
uh-huh,
managed to get a job at working for Paramount Pictures, um, still in a corporate capacity, not a creative capacity, but I was able to learn by working at a major studio. And then I started making films again, and I made a very short PSA about recycling. And I
oh,
placed in the Paramount Pictures short film competitions that they had for employees, and that kind of gave me my mojo and confidence back. And so I did that, and also I took classes at UCLA because they had free tuition reimbursement while I work at
oh,
Paramount. So I got a whole nother certificate in feature screenwriting while
huh,
working there. And so I wrote a feature screenplay, Destiny's Road. And submitted that to film festival competitions and screenwriting competitions, and I got into the Sundance Women in Films Sundance Financing Intensive. And
Mhm.
so that just, I think that opened up a lot of doors for me creatively, because after that, I just really started blossoming in my career, getting into other programs. And I made a web series, Man of the House. Um,
Yes. And I want you
mhm.
to talk to me about, your films, your projects, and thank you for sharing all of that, sharing that it was hard. It was hard after 2008, but your decision, Kameishia, and this is what I wanted to tell you, because I think, for me, consistency, and that's what you've done, and faith, your faith, and I always mention this, and obviously hard work, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you have to be consistent, and you have done that, and you have balanced the corporate world, with the creative world, and that's really hard,
Oh
really
yeah.
hard. So congratulations for that. And I wanted just to summarize why you are, someone to be, to admire, and follow your step. Really, thank you for that. Now, yes, tell me about all those films, how you started. And I know you started your short film, you're, in, film school, I think, and then you did all of this, and took advantage of being in Paramount, and doing your corporate work. Talk to me, tell us about your films, and how did they, your ideas, how did you brought those ideas to life?
Okay. So I would start with, I guess, Man of the House was me wanting to challenge myself with comedy,
Oh.
because up to this point, most of my projects have been family dramas. And I think I can naturally write comedy within a drama. It's not anything that I try to do, it just naturally happens.
Mm,
But in terms of focusing strictly on comedy, that is not my area of strength. So I
mhm,
wanted to test the waters with Man of the House. And also, I wanted to showcase um, a positive image of Black women, and also young children, because the main cast consisted of like young boys. They were all under 8 years old, and it was just about them, like, flexing their dominance in terms of like, the my main character from Man of the House was about an 8-year-old young kid who, his mom was a single mom, and he, stepped up to be the man of the house after his parents separated. So it was just meant to just show kind of like a Dennis the Menace type, a
mm,
modern day Dennis the Menace type, featuring a an African American young kid who's smart, intelligent, and witty.
mm,
So it was a fun project to do. It was, I didn't have any resources for that. I financed it myself, and
mm.
I think my first episode I shot for less than $200,
Oh,
and
wow.
so I think, yeah, most of my friends volunteered on the film. Everybody worked for free. I found a cinematographer who had everything, lights and camera, who shot it for me. One of my film school classmates was the casting director. I was able to use the alumni office for my
Mm,
casting sessions. And then one of the kids, one of the parents to one of my actors was able to get me a location
mm,
for my second and third episode. Actually, and we still collaborate today. Like, she actually was one of the producers on my latest short film.
mm.
So I just was blessed to have these wonderful people come and help me out on this project. And we got it made. It was cute. And we got it distributed. You can see that on Quelly TV.
Oh.
It's an African American streaming site. And you can also see it on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, and you can access that through my webpage as well if you want to check that out. But it's really cute, and it was made of very limited resources, and I'm super proud of it.
Yeah, and I think in your webpage too, and you're gonna, tell the website, but remember Kameishia, Wooten, and that's your website,
Mm-hmm.
dot com.
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna spell it so everybody can go and look for you in YouTube and see all your films. But like you say, can you repeat the channel where this the Man of the House is airing?
It's on my YouTube channel. I think it's, to be honest with you, the channel is so old that I don't know. It's not
Okay.
manofthehouse.com. There may be a Man of the House YouTube channel, because
Okay.
I shot that web. It's like from 2014, I believe.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
pretty old. But you can go to KameishiaWooten.com, and I have all the links there, so you can access that film, my older short films from film school, my short film Destiny's
Yeah.
Road, which was the proof of concept for the feature film that I made. That's up there. And you can see the trailer for my upcoming short film, Choices.
Yes, and you see all of that. I've seen the website, and you seen all of that. And in the webpage, remember KameishiaWooten.com.
Mm-hmm.
And in all the social media, also they can connect with social media. I have a question. You have done, I mean, you're a complete, no, there's no incomplete filmmakers, but you are, yeah, I was going to say a complete filmmaker, but you are a director, a writer, and a producer.
Yes.
And, there are some people that focus mostly on one of the three. And again, I've done the three too, but I'm passionate about one of them. Do you have
Mm-hmm.
any like choice?
At first, I didn't think I had a choice. At first, I felt like it was writing, because writing you can do without permission.
Mhm.
And you don't have to have money to write. But I will tell you, last year, directing opened up for me pretty, widely. Um, Directing has always been my number one. And writing, I felt like I had to do it. It was necessary because I needed material to direct. So I wrote, and I try to improve in the area. Um, but directing is my first love, and I would say
Ah,
writing is second. Producing, to be honest with you, it's not, I don't like it that much, but I'm naturally good at it. And
uh-huh,
so I do produce,
uh-huh,
because it's like natural for me. Like
yeah.
I'm a natural producer. So yeah.
Oh my God. So I'm gonna just say and share that because I'm a media producer and I'm reading and I also directed, I have directed documentaries and things like that. But I am passionate about being a producer and I know that I'm weird in that sense because production it's like you said, it's a and I can see why you said you're a natural for that. Obviously, you're a natural for that. You work in the corporate world and at the same time you use your creative side, and so again, and you put things together and you are like I'm gonna repeat this, you're your first generation graduate, and also I think you mentioned, you told me before that you are the only one in your family working in the entertainment industry.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. So how has that been with your family? That's another thing. And also being the first gen graduating from college. Can you share that experience?
I would say first confusing,
Mm, mm,
especially to my father. My father, very proud that I went to
mm,
college, but he could not understand the concept of film school. It took him, especially when I initially started school on the path of being a lawyer, and then I
mm,
was telling them I wanted to be a filmmaker, and it took my father a long time to understand the concept of that, until I started sending films home. And he was
mm,
like, okay. And then, when they got better, he was very proud and would show his friends, like, I'm from a very small town, so it's very small. I remember him calling me from the insurance office because he goes into the insurance office and he's friends with the insurance brokers for like the people that do the insurance for everything from life insurance to homeowners insurance. Like my father
mhm,
dealt with the same people, and I just remember him calling me from the
uh,
insurance office, say, "Hey, what's your website so I can show
mm.
I'm trying to think, show so and so your film." And I gave it to him because he was in the insurance office showing
Oh my
them like
God.
my project. So that was the
Oh,
moment I felt like, okay, Dad finally got it. But
yeah.
his thing was, why can't you just get out and get a great job? You have a degree. And my father thought that, because I had a degree, that I would automatically get hired for a job that would pay me
Yeah.
well. And that just was not the case, especially when I
Yeah.
graduated.
Yeah, and especially Kamisha, you are having great jobs in the corporate work
Oh,
again
yeah.
and in the creative work. But it's good that you mentioned, and for all people listening to this, because the media and entertainment industry is like that. It's really people don't understand sometimes, but it's hard. Like you said at the beginning, like people were telling you, this is hard. It's gonna be hard, and I'm repeating this because I've said it in this podcast. Even my mom at this day doesn't understand what a producer does. So it's like that. We and so that's what I remember when you shared your dad's experience. But now then we can go to how do you balance that corporate? You're working in Netflix now and
Yes.
you're doing your creative work as an independent filmmaker. How do you balance those works, those two type of jobs?
It's not easy, and it's not a tradition. I just want to point out it's not a traditional path. And and I would say when I came out to LA back in '08, it was very hard for people of color to get into those entry level assistant jobs. And so normally that is the path people take when they're interested in, like, development or writing and directing, like getting on a studio project as a PA and working yourself up. Those opportunities didn't necessarily come to me easily. I think now it's better. I think there's way more programs to get people of color into those entry level jobs, but those were not available when I was coming up in the industry. So the only avenue that I could get into the entertainment industry in was through corporate. And I will tell you, I do have a production background, and I got most of my production experience while I was in Chicago as a PA, and then I did some second AD work. So when I got into the studio system, I had worked as a legal assistant for Sizzler, the restaurant corporation,
Mm-hmm.
during the recession. And
Mm-hmm.
so I used that legal background plus my production background and was able to get into the studio system in the production legal, which is
Mm-hmm.
underneath the business and legal affairs department.
Mm-hmm.
So I already mentioned that I was not interested in legal stuff, but I am interested in production. So I think what happened was um, the production aspect of my role made the legal part interesting and engaging for me.
Yeah.
And so I was able to make that work as a quote unquote day job, which is hard and it comes with a lot of discipline. So mornings I would write and, do my work, and weekends and vacations I would make my films and, make my short films and stuff. And so that is how it worked. And then I also, I got invited to a lot of screenings because the area of the business I work in is delivery.
Mm-hmm.
So I oversee delivery of films. It's always been films. Now it's animation because I kind of switched around a little bit. So, especially when I was at Paramount, I went to all the screenings of the films that we acquired. And so that was always interesting.
Yeah.
And I worked directly with producers and sales agents. So I was able to get an educational aspect of the business, an area that a lot of artists don't have exposure to. And
Yeah.
so I think that is how I made that work. And also being transparent with my employers, like letting them know, hey, I'm a filmmaker too. Um, if my creative work becomes a conflict of interest, I know it'd be my time to leave. And I remember, like, Netflix is a very high performance environment. So you do need to be a high performer. But when I interviewed for the job, I was like, hey, my manager knew I was a writer, director, producer. And he was like, hey, so are you still pursuing your career? I said, yes. And he was like, are you going to be able to do both? And I said, if you will allow me, I said, and I asked him, I said, are you okay if I come in at 10:30 opposed to 9 o'clock? Because I can get my creative stuff done before I come into work. And that way I can be focused. And
Mm.
so, and he was okay with that. And so, that is pretty much how I made it work. And I will tell you that, I did spend a lot of time at these companies. Like I was at Paramount for almost 6 years. I've been at Netflix for almost 5. So I do have a really great working reputation there that allows me to take time off for projects
Yeah.
and pursue my creative endeavors because they know I'm a great worker and do my job. So I've been able to make it work.
Yeah, and as you and I know, and many people obviously that believing in the superior force and Papa Dios and and God, you are where you should be at the right time and right
Mm-hmm.
place and doing what you choose, and that's the most important thing for me. Again, you're an example. You're a great example of filmmaker. We're celebrating all the time for me, but Black History Month, we're closing this month, with you, with this interview, because you are such a great example of what we really want to show here in Go Ahead Tell Me. It's someone who really work hard. Again, I'm gonna mention the being consistent, and I understand as a woman and people of color, you also as I have gone through a lot of uh, different or hard things
Mm-hmm.
in not in the industry, we because we work in this industry, but in different places, and you are where you are. So how do you, now we know how you balance the corporate job with your creative career, how do you take care of your well-being, which is key for me?
Um, Thank you, because I do. I'm not gonna say that I don't have periods where I go through depression and then I struggle with anxiety, but I do have a therapist, and I believe I'm a strong believer in therapy, um, and I think therapy has helped me throughout my career. And I will say when the stakes are raised, like I've done a couple of programs last year, like fellowships that were really hard to get, and so the bigger the projects, the more mental pressure you get, and
Yeah.
so therapy, faith, and also I had a career coach last year that was extremely helpful, getting me through one of the most, I think, one of the biggest projects that I've done so far in my career. And
Mhm.
I found that to be very helpful. And so I'm a believer in support and also faith too. I think faith definitely is my foundation for everything, but also I rely on resources, mental health professional resources, and also career professional people who work in that area where they help people develop in their career.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Because I know that is exactly what this is the world that we're living in now. And I understand, obviously, life is a circle, but through the pandemic, we've learned a lot of things, and we should have learned exactly how to take care of our health. But one of the things, or the three things that you really use for your well-being, the therapies, which again, a lot of people are doing that, and I know and I understand is so necessary for our emotional and mental health. The career coach is I know, I remember 10, no, not 10, maybe 20 years ago, 50 years ago, when I heard about this coaching. But it's so important now for people to understand that there are people focusing on, like, for example, your career coach, on being a coach specifically, and they know and they study and they put things together, because now, as
Mm-hmm.
I said, there's a lot of information, obviously, through the internet, but there are people who put things together and help people, like your career coach or the therapist. And thank you for that, and for mentioning, obviously, the faith, because again, for me, we work hard and we can do so many things, and we can try to achieve a lot of things and money and a lot of things, but there are some things that are not under our control, and those are the things that Papa Dios is always under control. So he has under his control. I don't know, I don't remember, but I think we mentioned the short film that you were doing with women in film, and
Mm-hmm.
in Google, because you had this fellowship. You were one of the chosen for this. And I don't know if you want to talk about this exactly film that you did with women in film in Google.
Yes, yes. So Women in Film had a short slab. and Google sponsored. It was supported by Google, so they provided us with resources to make them. And so my short film that was made and selected for the program is entitled Choices, and it is about three very different friends find renewed connection as they await pregnancy test results at their Los Angeles high school. And so I shot this last year, and actually I shot it right before the Supreme Court
Oh, wow. The
ruled,
abortion?
yeah, the
Oh,
abortion
wow.
discussion, and and so it was very, and we found out our second day of shooting. So
Oh,
actually,
my
I think we
God.
found out the leaked. I think it was the leaked
Oh,
the
the leak.
opinion.
Yeah.
The leaked
Yeah.
opinion came out, and it was during the second day of filming. And I have like most women on my crew. I would say the crew was like 90% women, and I
Oh,
could just feel the energy. Everybody was like, okay, the purpose of the project like elevated.
yeah.
And so it's something that I didn't necessarily plan. It was something on my heart and spirit to do,
Oh, my
and
God.
I'm glad I did it. And it just felt like it was a film of purpose
Oh, my God.
during that season. So I'm excited for it to come out and for the
Yeah,
world to see it.
choices, choices. I just want to ask more about choices. I know that we won't see choices now because you're going to send it to the festival, right? Festival Circle. But oh my God, I just hear what it's about, and it's so wonderful. And again, Papa Dios had you do that at that time. So I'm so glad. Tell me again, there are three protagonists because you say it's
Yeah,
three.
three protagonists, and I chose three for very reasons because it's a film about reproductive freedom,
Mhm.
and I wanted to show three perspectives of the film because I felt like, we can agree to disagree, but all choices should be respected. And so at the end of the day, that
Yeah.
is what I wanted the message to be, um, regardless of what choice people make. And I feel like, teenagers and teenagers of color are often left out of that conversation when it comes to reproductive freedom and choices. So I wanted to make something from the from the perspective of the youth, because there are films about reproductive freedoms and that are portrayed positively in a comedic way, but we don't see those films with brown people. There may be one. I know Plan B came out maybe like a year or two ago, and I was so happy about that one. But there's no Junos with people of color. There's no there's a movie on HBO that is about a teenager that is a comedy about having a plan. Oh God, I forgot what it was called. And the
Mm.
person who directed that film was my mentor.
Oh.
Um, and it was such a and I was so excited. But I wanted to have a film that reflected people that look like me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. And especially because I really think like you in that sense. I will always say, and I know this is controversial, but I will always say I am pro-choice and pro-life
Mm-hmm.
because I am choice. You have your right, I have my rights, and I just want everyone to respect other people's rights,
I
right?
agree. I'm the same way. Like yeah, I'm the same way, and that's why I made it, because I'm pro-choice, and whoever I'm pro-choice, and so and regardless in pro-life as well too. I would say I'm a whatever choice works best for you.
Yeah.
I can support it.
Yeah.
But I feel like everyone needs to have that freedom to make whatever choice that they feel that is best for them. Um, and
Exactly.
in the movie that I was trying to remember is called Unpregnant, and it's on HBO. And that was
Oh,
a movie that I absolutely love. And so, and I saw it, and I was like, okay, I want a movie like this, for
yeah.
people of color, people that look like me. I wish we had a film that would be more sympathetic to teenagers who may get in the situation of being pregnant, opposed to condemning them.
Yeah, of course. And yes, there's some stigma also and prejudice also for this thing for people of coloring. But thank you. I hope that I can see choices also as a feature, or any of your features. I know you have your features, and I am so proud. I'm just so proud and thankful because you being in this podcast. I just want, before you prepare to give advice, which is what I ask at the end for our audience, are going to listen to all your achievements and how you take care of your well-being, which is so important. And all those things that you are creating, Kamishia. I am so happy that you are so successful creative person, and also working in the successful working in a corporate world in Netflix, and you work in Paramount, and that things can be done. You are showing that things can be done, and you also, the most important thing, you also take care of your health. I'm so glad you have your career coach, your therapy. You had your career coach and your therapist. So, what are the advices that you will give to the audience?
One thing I would say, never give up. I know that's easier said than done, but utilize the resources you have. And also, don't be discouraged if a door doesn't open. And just like I just said, you do what you can do. Like, even if you can only study or watch films and analyze them at this moment in your career, do it. And also, don't get stuck on one way of doing things, because I definitely did not have a traditional path. It's still not traditional. I don't know many people who've had the path that I've had. So just ignore that path, that one way of getting to where you want to go. And then another thing that people don't, especially with people of color, take care of your finances, because I think that is one area that can take you out. So just be financially responsible, save as much as you can, and also just be strategic about how you use your money. And so that is a big advice that I have for people of color. If you don't come from money, or if you don't have um, you know access to money, and you're relying on yourself, because I relied on myself for a really long time. Like, Choices was the first project where I got money from other people to make. And I still use some personal money with that. So, it's just like, really pay attention to the finances. And it's probably one of the reasons why I chose the path that I chose, because I knew I needed resources to build my portfolio.
Yeah. Oh, Kamishia, I will see you before, but I also will say that I will see you at the Oscars. Please
Oh
keep
my
going.
goodness, I received that. Thank you.
Please keep going. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. Remember to look for KamishiaWooten.com and connect with her, because you'll see her as an Academy Award winner pretty soon. My name is Rosie Egigure. Until next time. Y me despido diciéndote que recuerdes que estas recomendaciones para desarrollar tu liderazgo son tanto para tu trabajo como para tu vida personal. Eres un ser humano y tu trabajo no es tu vida completa. Por esto, tu liderazgo es en general. Esto es Éxito y Bienestar, un podcast de Dale Cuéntame. Te agradezco muchísimo si compartes este episodio con alguien a quien le pudiera servir. Estas son las maravillas del podcast. Se pueden escuchar en cualquier momento y haciendo otra actividad. Mi nombre es Rosie Gigure. Hasta la próxima.